Greetings, my name's Guy Dauncey. This is the show called Change the World on Spotlight. And I like to invite guests on who share my sense of we need positive change, we need new ideas, we need practical good stuff. And today my guest is Kira Antinuk, who's an executive director of the Children's Health and Human Rights Partnership, which is not what we're talking about.
Not today.
Because you're here wearing your hat as an active member of the Victoria Electric Vehicles Club.
That's right.
So we're talking a whole show about electric vehicles.
Correct.
We're going to go through the models, we're going to talk the ranges, the problems, the questions you have. So tell me, Kira, how did you first get involved with electric vehicles yourself?
Well, I really have to thank my father, who raised me with a lot of technology in my childhood. He believed strongly that it was very important for me to get used to working with computers, used to working with technology. And so from a very early age, we had that type of technology in our home. And so when electric vehicles started to become the buzz, and I read a little bit about the technology that was embedded in these vehicles, it just became so compelling, and I couldn't look away from it. So I became quite obsessed about researching, and then in April of 2016, I put in an order for an electric vehicle.
That's 3 years ago now, right?
3 years ago, and I spent about 2+ years of that time on a wait list.
Oh, right.
Agonizing while I waited and researched and read. And
so I got to ask you, what did you order?
I ordered a Tesla Model 3.
You went right to the top.
I did, and it was the largest vehicle purchase that I've ever made. So it was a really big step, but when I broke it all down into the total cost of ownership, into the savings on maintenance, on fuel, into the safety, because I am a mother, there really was no other option for me that was as compelling, especially when considering my affection for technology.
So you're an EV geek. In that
a little
sense.
bit, yeah.
So what we're going to do on the show, we're going to run through 6 electric cars and then talk about the challenges and problems and possibilities and stuff. Let's bring up the first one. I started with the lowest range, which is the Smart EV. Range of 138 to 155 kilometers and a price of between 29,000 and 32,000. And as I understand it, the government gives you 5,000 towards it, which kind of covers all the taxes.
That's right. So there is a provincial rebate, a $5,000 rebate, which is really helpful and something that people should definitely factor in when they're looking at this, because I do understand it can be quite daunting to consider a purchase like this. And I believe there's a large misconception about electric vehicles, that they are so expensive, you know, the battery technology is so expensive, but that's just not the case anymore. The prices are coming down all the time. And so if you are a single person or a couple, you don't have a huge commute every day, something like the Smart EV is absolutely perfect. Well, it's fun and sporty.
We had a smart car, not EV, before we switched, and I tell you, in terms of illegal U-turns and spinning around and parking on a dime, they're just amazing.
That's right, exactly. No, I think it's a great vehicle, especially for our local driving.
And so for all the vehicles we're running through, the prices I'm referencing are the price of a new vehicle today, but there's a very big second-hand market.
There sure is, and we're really fortunate, I think, too, in Victoria, that we do have a wonderful used electric vehicle sales store out in Sydney called Motorized.
So here we've got the Fiat 500e. Now, this has got a range of 135 kilometers and a price in US dollars of 33,000, because my research seems to tell me it's not on sale in Canada.
So I have, this is actually a local vehicle owned by somebody right here on the island. So it has been historically difficult to get electric vehicles, especially through the traditional, the big dealerships. I think that is going to start to change very quickly, because we have the new zero emission mandate now coming through the provincial government, which is very exciting.
But it's not until 2040.
It's not till 2040, but it does, there's graduated steps. And this is going to really put some pressure on the dealerships, I think, to have more of an inventory of these EVs.
Let's do the next vehicle. And this is, well, guess who that is? This is myself and my wife Carolyn with our new Kia Soul, which we literally bought a week ago, right?
Fantastic.
And this, we actually got This is the top of the line, brand new model. We got $15,000 discount altogether, $5,000 from the government, $4,000 from Kia, and then $6,000 because we scrapped an almost 20-year-old Mazda family van.
Excellent.
So through the Scrap It program.
Now that's a great piece of information, I think, too, for people to think of, because what we're finding is that people that are looking to get an electric vehicle, they're usually looking to replace an older internal combustion engine vehicle or a gas car.
Yep.
And so to have the Scrap It program where you can trade in your old clunker and get $6,000 off of a brand new EV,
and so if we could go back to
$3,000 I think off a used.
Go back to the Kia Soul. Yes, if you're putting, if you're buying a used vehicle, you get $3,000 Scrap It.
That's right.
But you don't get the $5,000.
That's right. That's true.
And the range on the Kia Soul is 100. Well, I had 187. But this morning, when I had it full plugged in, it told me 194. So what I'm learning is that it looks at your driving style.
It does.
If you're driving Kia Soul with 100% electric on it, with myself and Carolyn, if you're driving super efficiently, it increases your range.
That's right, exactly. It's very, very clever. The computers and the technology in these vehicles really adapts to on the dime, really. Yeah.
So that Kia, we just love it. It's so. I mean, that's my first proper experience. So there we go. It's so smooth, and this cost us $32,000, split between the two of us, but. We took out money on a line of credit initially, and the savings on gas. So a regular gas car was costing around $2,000 to $2,400 a year. The gas on this is around $350 a year.
Yeah.
The interest on the line of credit was a lot less than that. So you're saving on the line of credit.
That's right.
Purely from the gas savings. And you know what it's like. You take a car in for servicing. You think it's $200. It comes back $800.
Every time.
The servicing on this once a year is $59.
Well, you can't beat that, can you?
That's Kia right here in Victoria, up on the corner of Government Street and Hillside, right?
It's fantastic.
So let's have the next car up. The Nissan Leaf, which is this is probably the most popular. This is
that's right.
Friend Chris Istash's car in Ladysmith, recharging at the public level 2 charging station.
Beautiful.
So the Leaf is the new one, 363 kilometers range.
Wow.
The new price is $44,000, but there are lots of second-hand Nissan Leafs for as low as 15,000. I've seen it motorized.
That's right, and some even lower too. They go like hotcakes though when they're really low. But
there's new ones coming in.
That's right. There's new ones coming in all the time.
Where do they come in from?
So a lot of them are brought in, I believe, from the U.S.
Right.
And of course now with so many more new EV models being available and the price is dropping, there's a lot of folks in Victoria that have had a Leaf for a long time that are ready to trade on up.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see more and more available.
Yeah. So because that was charging. No, let's do charging later. Let's finish the vehicles first. We'll go to the This is an electric vehicle. This is the new one.
That's right, it is.
415 kilometer range.
Fabulous.
Price again, $45,000.
Yeah, and this is the type of vehicle that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. There are so many people that think, you know what, I really need to have something a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I have kids, I have dogs, I've got hockey equipment.
This is a 5-seater.
This is fantastic. Really, this is going to fit those needs on the T.
Yeah. Well, our Kia is a 5-seater as well, with lots of storage station in the back.
Perfect.
And now let's finally have if the slides are working well, the Tesla.
There it is. So yeah, that's
tell us about your
Model
experience
3.
of driving a Tesla.
So I had never driven an electric vehicle until the day I drove mine off of the lot, so to speak.
Yes.
So it was a very overwhelming experience. One of the things I think with Tesla is that it's an experience where you really you become part of the vehicle and part of the technology. So for the Model 3, those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's got a very Spartan dash that stretches across, and then a single screen right in the center between the driver and the front passenger.
It's not to watch movies on there.
Well, not yet. That's coming,
and not
though.
while you're driving.
Not while you're driving, though. You can play Atari games on the screen while you're parked, so a little something to while away the time.
Yes.
There's all sorts of little Easter eggs.
What do you see on the screen?
Usually you see what's happening with the car. So you see your speed, you see all the vehicles around you, which is great from a safety perspective.
Yes.
The car has 8 cameras all around monitoring conditions at all times. And so for me, as a mom, I really, really appreciate the safety that goes into each and every one of these vehicles. It just puts my mind at ease.
Tell us about acceleration?
Well, now, that takes me right back to when I got my first car when I was 16 and was ripping around the South Island and just being all sorts of reckless with it. But right off the line, you get all the power instantly.
Yes.
So it's got the torque all available all at once. And so there's none of this business with a gas car where
Yeah.
you're sort of, the
Work
engine
up
is
through the
making
gears
that
and-
noise of,
Yeah.
really? Are you kidding, lady? Are we doing this? So it's all fun all the time, instantly. And, you know, when we first got the car, the kids and I would sort of pull up at a stoplight and there'd be, you know, some souped up fancy
Yes.
BMW with a young kid in it. And he would look at me and I would look at him and then we would go. Of course, we would, you know, slow down as soon as we hit the speed limit, but
Yes.
it was very fun showing gas vehicle owners that really
Yeah.
their
So-
time has come.
Just for the numbers on the Tesla, the range of the new Tesla Model 3 is 386 kilometers, I'm told?
So that's for the shorter range battery.
Oh, okay.
There also is the long range battery. That's the one that I have, and the
Right.
range for that is just over 520 kilometers
my
a pop.
goodness.
So it used to be
Wow.
500, but a recent software update bumped us up, and it also bumped up our acceleration.
Right.
And that's the neat thing about Tesla is that you've got a brand new car
Yes.
all of a sudden with these software updates that just keep rolling out for free. So it's
I heard
really
about that
fun.
from a Tesla driver last night. Said, yeah, they send this software update, and you
They
just
do.
you do it through your cell phone, or how?
Your cell phone, it pops up a notification and it says, would you like to download it now? And I say, yes,
You
please.
just plug the cell phone in, and the
I
car
don't even
gets,
have to plug the cell
it's all
phone in.
Wi-Fi
It's
stuff.
all over the
Bluetooth
you know,
or whatever.
that's right, the LTE.
and the car gets an upgrade.
That's right. It's like getting a brand new car.
And here's the astonishing thing, that the price I saw last week for the Tesla Model 3 is 47,600.
That's right.
in the same range as the other new cars.
It is, and it's one of those wonderful things where I really think that Tesla has done an incredible job of setting that bar, of pushing these major manufacturers to recognize that
Yes.
electric vehicles are what people do want.
Right.
And it's time to stop making these little compliance cars
Yes.
and not having enough
Yeah.
inventory. You really need to put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
And so it's great.
We've got a whole lot of questions that viewers are having. One of them I know is around pickup trucks.
Yes.
Is there going to be an electric pickup truck?
There's going to be many electric pickup trucks, and
Wow.
it's really exciting. The market is coming up.
Yes.
Obviously, we know there's a huge demand. There's folks out there that use trucks not just for recreational
Yes.
purposes, but for their
work, yeah.
And so some of the offerings that we're hearing about are going to have options where you can actually plug in your power tools right in and feed off the battery.
Pretty convenient.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah. I heard about one called the Workhorse, and they've had a 5,000 fleet order purchases already in advance.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be gangbusters.
Right. And so, what are the common? You're in the electric vehicle club.
That's right. Yeah. So we have
we'll bring
the
up the
club.
last slide, the image of the electric vehicle club. We'll bring that up in a minute. So, what goes on in the club?
So the club, the mandate of the Electric Vehicle Club is to accelerate the transition to a sustainable energy future. And
Right.
so one of the things that we do twice a month is we get together and host these coffee chats. So we do it once in Machosen and once at Uptown Center.
Okay.
And it's an opportunity for people that have questions about electric
right.
vehicles, are, you know, just sort of wanting to research it, but hear from real life owners. So they can pop in, have some coffee, have a snack, and chat with us, hear from different model owners, and so really get a sense of what might work for their needs.
So, give us the when and the how of it. The one in the Uptown is when?
So what the best thing to do is check on the website. So it's victoriaevclub.com.
Okay, and it tells you.
Because it does, sometimes the dates do need to shift.
Okay.
So it's better to just check and make
cool.
sure before coming out.
What are the questions people are bringing you?
So one of the biggest questions that I've gotten is, how long does it take to charge?
Yes.
So the answer to that is 8 seconds. It takes me 4 seconds to plug it in, and then I go in the house and make dinner and go to sleep. And then in the morning when I wake up, it takes me 4 seconds to unplug. And that's the beauty of an electric vehicle, is that I'm not waiting in line at a gas station and fretting about, oh my gosh, the gas has gone up to 164.9. I'm not, sitting in that line and pumping smelly fumes. I'm at home, I'm sleeping, the car's doing its thing.
So for people who are thinking, well, I might buy a second-hand one, which have got the lower range.
That's right.
And say, if your range is between 120 and 200, and you live in Nanaimo and you drive to Victoria, you're going to have to recharge before going home.
So one of the great things I think that's coming, and I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of everything being fully covered with the charging needs, but we are seeing more of the fast chargers being put in, even for vehicles that aren't Teslas. So Teslas, of course, have the supercharger network, which is fairly robust, and you can nip in and just get yourself a coffee and your car is done 5 minutes later. But for folks that don't have access to that, there are level 2 and level 3 chargers available that go all the way up the island and all the way across Canada. So they can plan out their route. There's websites like plugshare.com. There's usually a way in the car, if it has a navigation system, that it will also assist you with planning out your route.
So if viewers are wondering about the noise in the background, we have the most critical hockey game of the season happening here, with the Victoria Royals are facing their one chance to get back in the playoffs. So that's what the background noise is.
They also might be excited about electric vehicles too, though.
Are electric vehicles, because they're silent, dangerous to pedestrians?
So what I have found in my experience with the Tesla is that when I'm in a parking lot, I do need to take extra care and make sure, because it is silent. So a lot of times people are not aware that I am there. There is discussion about the fact that eventually there'll be some sort of mandated pedestrian noisemaker. I know that the Leaf has a noise that when you are reversing, it makes a gentle beep.
Well, my Kia Soul has a beep beep when reversing, but also when it goes below 20, it puts out a noise for pedestrians to hear it.
That's right. So I think that that's probably what is going to be mandated for all of them at some point down the road. Mine doesn't have it yet. I'm assuming, knowing Elon and his tendency to...
We're talking Elon Musk, the great champion of this stuff.
He tends to have a bit of a sense of humor, so I'm assuming we'll be able to have programmable noises, and I would like the theme from Jaws and also maybe Darth Vader breathing.
I've got a test question for you.
You bet.
What is the most distant electric car?
The most distant electric car that maybe will be created someday?
No, the most distant in space.
Oh, well, that would have to be the Roadster.
The one he put into space.
That's right, exactly. Somewhere between here and Mars, I suppose.
Isn't that just so wild?
It really is, and my kids just love that. I think that's one of the other exciting things.
So he put the Roadster into orbit, and it's now heading for Mars.
It sure is.
So that when humans get to Mars, they can drive around in it.
That's right, exactly.
What about the lifespan of the battery?
So that's another thing that people are really worried about. They worry about how long are these batteries going to last, and what's going to happen when they finally fall apart. There's going to be these toxic batteries that, have to be thrown away or disposed of. And so what I would say to that is we have been looking at the batteries from the original Nissan Leafs, and what we're finding is that even the very oldest Leafs still have battery capacity left. These are Leafs from the year 2011, and it's now 2019, and these Leafs have driven, a lot of kilometers.
250,000 kilometers.
And they're doing fine. They obviously have a reduced rate in terms of the battery capacity, but they're still working just fine. And so the batteries usually have a warranty of 100,000 kilometers or 8 years. But what I am seeing based on looking at the Tesla battery and the technology it's using, I think my battery will probably last forever.
And is it right that the price of batteries is falling all the time?
It sure is.
So that if you need to buy a new one, they'll be a heck of a lot cheaper.
That's right. I believe right now the statistic is that if you wanted to replace the battery on a Nissan Leaf, it would be the same price as replacing the engine. So it wouldn't really be that different unless you had to do that with a gas car.
Replacing the engine sounds like an expensive thing, though.
So it's probably less than $5,000 from my understanding.
And then it's good for another 10 years.
Another whole 10 years, that's right.
What about cold weather driving? Arctic and stuff like that.
Canadians, obviously not in Victoria. We don't really have to deal with super cold temperatures.
Alberta, northern BC.
But northern BC, we have the president of our association drives from here to Hay River quite periodically for his work.
Tell me and the viewers where Hay River is.
That's quite far north. When he arrives, his vehicle is usually covered with what looks like permafrost. It's really amazing. And he has no difficulties at all. Obviously, you do lose some range with the cold temperatures,
Yes.
but one of the great things about some of these EVs is that you can precondition your car. Meaning, so when you're plugged in at home in the morning,
Yes.
you turn on your phone app and you turn the heat on, so that when you get into your car,
Right.
it's nice and toasty. You don't need to blast the heat at that
Right.
point and start using the battery.
So my Kia Soul has a heat pump
Yes.
because there's no engine heat.
That's right.
So the heat's coming straight from the battery, so it's all electric. But with the heat pump, it's actually taking the heat from the air and then using the electricity purely to run the pump to extract the heat to circulate.
That's right, and there's so many great and really ingenious ideas, I think, that we can look at that are being put into these vehicles, and
Right.
that's where the technology and the science is really coming together in
Yeah.
a really exciting way.
Can electric vehicle drivers get any other bonus? Free rides on the ferries, HOV lanes, or anything like that?
So I do know that HOV lanes is a great perk. Folks that have to deal with the traffic in the lower mainland really appreciate
So
that.
even with just one driver, you can go.
That's right, and there's a special decal that goes on the back of
Okay.
your vehicle, so you just apply for that.
Then all the other drivers are sort of.
You might get a few dirty looks, but it doesn't matter. It's worth it. Maybe
Right.
it'll help encourage others
Right.
to make the switch.
And at the electric charging stations, how do you pay?
So for me, if I needed to supercharge, I would simply park in front of a supercharger, get out of my vehicle, take the little nozzle, walk up to the car, the little cap on the end
Yes.
of the tail light would open automatically, and I would plug it in, and that's it. Because it recognizes my car, it recognizes the credit card that's linked to my account, and so it does the billing all automatically while I'm having a coffee.
And it's on your credit card, just
It sure
a
is.
small little.
Just
What's a typical for a fill up? What's a typical
So
payment?
we did a road trip, the kids and I, last summer to Drumheller, Alberta,
Yeah.
which was really, really fun. And I'll never forget when we stopped in Kamloops to fill up. My son went off to use the bathroom. The car was finished charging before he came out. It was done in just minutes, and it cost 80 cents.
Sorry, excuse my chuckling or laughing. That's kind of ridiculous.
It really is.
I worked out with the Kia Soul because they tell you how many kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So I'm averaging around 14 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And with the price of electricity in BC, that's telling me that it's costing me $1 to go 50 kilometers and $2 to go 100 kilometers, or $20 to go 1,000 kilometers. Like,
It's just astounding. It
Yeah.
really, really is. And I think people talk about the fact that you're not spending money on gas, but the other piece to remember is that the electric vehicles are simply much more efficient as well in
Yes.
terms of the motors and the way
well, I
that they
think
work.
it's sort of 4 times less energy
That's
than
right.
a gasoline. So, yeah.
It's the efficiency. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions that people bring up?
Well, I think people do worry about the cost, and we've talked about
Yes.
that it's coming down all the time. It's much more reasonable.
Yeah.
So I really think if people sat down and figured out how much they're paying on
Yes.
gas, how much are they paying on oil changes,
And how much
because
can they get by selling an existing car?
that's right,
or scrapping
exactly.
one?
And
Yes.
brake pad changes, because as we know,
that's-
with regenerative braking that occurs with electric
Yes.
vehicles, you pretty much are guaranteed that you'll never have to replace your brake pads.
Explain how that works.
Sure. So one of the neat things about regenerative braking is that when you lift your foot off of what I call the go pedal, because
Yes.
there's no gas pedal,
Yeah.
the car starts to slow down really, really dramatically.
Yes.
And so I find that I never use the brake pedal unless I'm maybe
I'm
about
the same.
4 or 5 feet away
becomes
from
a
the
game
actual
to drive the whole
stop
journey
line.
without using the brake
That's
pedal.
right, exactly. And so because of that, what it does is it takes that energy that it's using in slowing the car down, and it puts it right back into the battery. So
Right.
some people will play that game of, well, I've just driven up a mountain, now I'm going to drive down, and we'll see
Yes.
how much energy I can add
So
back
on
to
the
the battery.
Kia Soul, I have a little device, and it tells you, you press Eco, and it gives you feedback.
Yes.
At level 1 to 8, how efficient your driving is. And it's got a little tree. If you get to level 8, all the green petals on the tree light up and tells you, oh, good feeling. But it's turning me into a really, how do I say this, a very safe, calm driver.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get my power consumption down, and it's never using the brakes and running in that drive. So
You're quite right. It really does change, I think, your whole life, to be honest. And I know that that sounds excessive and like an exaggeration, but this entire thing is quite a lifestyle change. You become much more aware of your surroundings even when you drive. You're driving a silent vehicle. When you roll down your windows and you're driving through a treed area, you can hear the birds singing. It fills up your car. You don't hear that when you're driving a gas car because the engine noise is enough to drown out pretty much everything.
So the simple charging, is it level 1 or level 3, the slowest one?
Level 1 would be the slowest. Most of the chargers that folks will see around town are level 2.
So we have level 1 is just to plug it into the house without anything at all.
Essentially,
and basically, if we're from 0, it's a long time. It's like
it is
30 hours. But then on level 2, it's about 6 to 8 hours, is it?
Yeah, it depends.
From
obviously.
0, and you don't often go to 0.
And there are, of course, lots of different options for the home chargers that you can put in. It's a really good idea to check what kind of electrical service you have and what options might be good. We have some great electricians in town who are very knowledgeable now about this. And the other nice thing too is that you may want to consider a solar panel setup so that you really can say your car is powered by the sun.
Right. I gather there's a baker in Colwood who does just that. Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Electricity coming straight in. Driving on sunlight.
That's right, exactly. How fantastic.
And the other bizarre thing is that when you think about the physics of light, you'll understand this, the light from the sun takes 8 minutes to get to Earth. And so when you're 8 minutes down the road, you're driving on energy that was on the surface of the sun, well, except it's being mediated through your panel, but it's still, it's pretty, this technological transformation is really amazing.
It's mind-blowing, it really is. And what's amazing to me is watching my children grow up with this being their norm. It's their normal. And so they already have picked out which electric vehicles they're going to be getting. My son will be getting his license next year.
What's he going to buy?
Well, he would love to get a Tesla, but
he hasn't got quite the income yet.
That's right. So we're looking at a used Leaf for him.
There you go. Well, look, we've got 30 seconds left. Any last-minute thoughts for viewers about the joy of electric cars?
I think that if you're on the fence at all, just come to a club meeting. We'll take you for a drive, and we'll be happy to really share with you what it's like, all of the practical questions that you might have. VictoriaEVClub.com.
Well, look, Kira, thanks for being a champion for electric vehicles.
You're very welcome.
And for the contribution they make to the climate crisis.
Well, every little bit helps. You know, there's not one solution, there's many, and we all need to do what we can.
So great. My guest today has been Kira Antinuk, who's with the Victoria Electric Vehicles Club. This is the show called Change the World. My name's Guy Dauncey. One of my contributions is this book, Journey to the Future, A Better World is Possible, set in 2032 as a novel in Vancouver, full of electric vehicles, electric cars, electric motorbikes, electric trucks, electric buses. Thanks for being on the show, and if you enjoy this, tune in and we'll enjoy more show next week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Pleasure.